Great to have you with us here on Arc Salt Lake tonight. I'm Brian Schnee. Monday, December 2nd. Tonight we're taking a look at air pollution in Utah and the impacts to your health. We'll also take a look at what's next with the Great Salt Lake after funding for mitigation efforts were announced today. So, as Utah's inversion season is really prevalent with the lack of winter storms, what impacts can the haze and pollutants in the air have on Utahns? Earlier today, Intermountain Health shared insights on what to know when Utah's air quality isn't favorable and how you can stay healthy.
I am Benjamin Horn. I'm a professor of research at Intermountain Health in the Heart Institute. And we performed a study previously looking at 115 biomarkers of inflammation in people with heart failure and people who were free of heart disease. And we expanded on that study here by linking in information about the air pollution levels, the PM 2.5, the particulate matter, so it's fine particulate matter air pollution. And in this study, it was a fairly small study. There were 44 individuals with heart failure and 35 who were free of heart disease. And we evaluated them looking at individuals who had had a blood draw here in our research program when the air pollution was above 20 micrograms per cubic meter. And that's about the middle of, if you're looking at the air quality index, that's about the middle of the yellow. And then just for reference, 35 micrograms per cubic meter is where it goes into the red. Today, when you look outside right now, it's in about the middle of the yellow. So it's about that threshold of where we called it high for the purposes of the study. And then we excluded any blood samples that were drawn on a day when it was 7 to up to 20. And so that's the middle of the green up to the middle of the yellow. We wanted to have just a very clean exposure when there's very low air pollution below 7 micrograms per cubic meter, which is about the average, the annual average PM 2.5 in the Salt Lake City area is 6 to 7. Well, actually the median, if you want to be technical about it. So we had these discordant exposures, people who were getting blood draws and their blood tested for these inflammatory biomarkers when the air pollution was extremely low, and then people when it was above 20 when the air pollution was high. And we evaluated the difference between those biomarkers, the levels of the biomarkers on those high exposure and low exposure days for the individuals. We looked in people with heart failure, and there were 3 biomarkers that were substantially elevated on days when the air pollution was high. And in people who were free of heart disease, however, there were none of the 115 biomarkers that were elevated on the air pollution days. They just were not different. So this was an interesting dichotomy, interesting difference between people with heart failure and people who were free of heart disease, because we found previously, and others have found in studies, that we're not looking at biomarkers, just looking at people based on what condition they had, if they had a condition or not. We have found that people who have coronary artery disease or who have heart failure or COPD or asthma and other conditions, that they have this risk. When the air pollution rises in the short term, which is a period of days to weeks, that they have more problems, and they'll come into the hospital and they will be admitted to the hospital more frequently on days or in the days following short-term elevations of air pollution, whereas people who are free of disease tend not to have that problem. They don't need to come in to even see the doctor in an outpatient setting. So it's a very interesting mechanistic biological finding that there's this difference internally, that these biomarkers of inflammation are becoming elevated on days or in the days following elevation of air pollution. just in terms of the exposure to the PM 2.5, we looked at 3 different time periods. One was the same day as the blood draw, so we looked at just the air pollution level on the day of the blood draw to see was that associated with the level of the inflammatory biomarkers. We also looked at the average over the last 3 days before the biomarkers were tested, and then the last 7 days, so the average across that week leading up to the measurement of the inflammatory biomarkers. And in all 3 of those time frames, there were some variations, small variations, but all 3 of these biomarkers were associated with elevations on the days or in relation to that week of exposure to elevated PM 2.5.
Well, it's a big topic of conversation because today is one of those really first, I guess, noticeable days of change, which you're not really seeing the inversion, but you're seeing maybe the effects of what the inversion have?
Absolutely. You're seeing what happens with the pollution when it has nowhere to go and escape, right? It's getting trapped, and that's what we see here. All that haze, that is pollutants, and yeah, we've got this inversion, which means warm air aloft. In typical stable atmosphere, we would have cold air aloft, but we've got cold air at the surface now, warm air aloft, and that means the air has nowhere to kind of breathe or go. We need something to move it around, and that would be some snow, some rain, or maybe some strong winds. Unfortunately, we're here to stay with the next few days. So let's get to what's going on out there. As I mentioned, we're kind of just stuck in this weather pattern here of inversion. This is the inversion season, which continues all the way through the remainder of winter here as we get through February and March as well. And the geography is certainly not helping the situation as we're kind of sandwiched in between 2 mountain ranges and creating this stagnant air in place. So what you can do at home to help out, well, maybe consider not using a wood-burning fireplace here until we get through the end of this week at least. Also, carpooling would help out. Anything you do to create less pollution, less driving. Consider working from home if you could do so. And maybe if you're going to run some errands, get that all done in one trip without having to run multiple trips in one day. So right now we were in the moderate category, kind of border in the orange as we headed into the afternoon and evening. It will continue to get a little bit better this evening as a lot of less cars on the roads. But look at this, it increases as we get into the day tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. We'll talk about, though, what shakes this weather pattern coming up. My first alert weather forecast.
Sean, thank you. We'll talk in just a few. An investment to improve drought mitigation efforts in the Great Salt Lake Basin. Today we heard from leaders about their efforts and what they're putting forth.
Through President Biden's Investing in America agenda, I am proud to announce $50 million in investments in the Great Salt Lake. This funding will go to our partners with the state to enhance ongoing agricultural and municipal conservation efforts in the Great Salt Lake Basin, and this investment will help slow the decline of a very valuable resource that is the Great Salt Lake. Your strategic plan for the Great Salt Lake that includes both short-term and long-term actions makes this project a great fit for funding as part of the Inflation Reduction Act. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and Inflation Reduction Act represent the largest investment in climate resilience in our nation's history and providing much-needed resources to enhance Western communities resilient to drought and aridification. That includes protecting the short and long-term sustainability of the Colorado River system. This is important for the Great Salt Lake and in reclamation meeting our mission to deliver Colorado River water to the Wasatch Front, homes and farms.
We know about the direct impact to the jobs that come right off the lake, the minerals, the brine shrimp that we've talked about so often. It's a stopover for millions, literally millions of migratory birds to rest, refuel, and breed. And the lake also contributes, we don't talk about it as often, but it's very important, contributes to our incredible ski industry here in the state. We know that somewhere between 5 or 10%, depending on the year, of our famous snow at our famous resorts comes from, as a direct result of the lake and lake effect snow.
Great Salt Lake remains a pressing policy issue for the state, for the region, for the nation, and even the international state. We have millions of migratory waterfowl, some of which that travel all the way to Argentina and stop over here as an important part. It provides a vital contribution, as the governor mentioned, through minerals and brine shrimp, wildlife, lake effect precipitation, recreation, and so many other things.
Still ahead here on Arc Salt Lake, a live artillery shell found in a Grantsville home. The process first responders used to safely dispose of this old military relic. We're learning more tonight after Unified Fire's Bomb Squad Special Operations Division responded to a home Sunday night where a live artillery round was discovered. UFA took us through the process of handling the shell and then turning it over to the military.
So last night around 1700, our bomb technicians were called out to an unexploded ordnance call in Grantsville, Utah. There was a citizen out there that recently passed away. As the family was cleaning up the property, someone came across an artillery shell, a 155 millimeter artillery shell that we're believing to be a World War II era artillery shell. We got called out quickly. as soon as we arrived, we worked with Grantsville PD to set out a shelter-in-place order to make sure that citizens were protected while we took care of the issue. The artillery shell ultimately was turned over to a section of the U.S. Air Force for proper disposal. The family knew nothing about it, and where it was found, it seemed like it was kind of forgotten about. So it was something that caught the family off guard. They were definitely surprised by finding this. We have a highly trained group of individuals that there are bomb technicians. They go out and they have a robot. That robot goes over and they can actually x-ray, and in real time they can see the insides of a device. And so at that point, after they used the robot to go and see what was inside, that's when they were able to make the educated decision that this is a live round and that they were going to handle it as such and call in that government agency. The U.S. Air Force is in charge of all of unexploded ordnance. So we call them in and they come and take care of all of that. I'm not sure how many homes were actually impacted by that. They did find that it was a relatively low risk, so they let the surrounding homes know, and they said that it was really quickly they were able to get that shelter in place taken care of, and they just made sure that no one came around With our bomb techs, they go to a rigorous school and learn all about this ordnance. You know, the 155 artillery shell is a common NATO shell that's been used for many years, but with identifiers and markings, they're able to kind of pinpoint when they think it was used.
Well, if you'd like to learn more about this incident and see some photos of the shell, you can find them on our website, KUTV.com. Meteorologist Sean Kelly back with us here on Arc Salt Lake. We're getting a lot of Sean here tonight.
Yeah,
That's what the people need.
right, that's right.
Ski forecast, something that you and I were just talking about. Really want to wait until that next snowfall so we can maybe get some fresh stuff. It's going to be pretty stale, I think, throughout the course of the week now.
But there's the, you know,
Groomers are the way to go.
People who want to get out there regardless.
Groomers are the way to go right now.
And you know, it's kind of one way to get out of the inversion. So that's a great escape to the mountains, to the ski resorts. Of course, the conditions aren't the best just yet. We need another good snow.
Really?
We're hoping to get some snow here in the next 7 days. I think by the end of that 7-day forecast, we have a chance. And yeah, it's a brand new month. We're getting those shorter days. It's getting colder. We're also looking at the chance here, well, climatologically speaking, the average of some decent snow here in the next 3 months. So that's the snow season here. December, we see 12 inches on average, and that continues on through January as well. Seeing a little bit more there, and some good snow here in the next several months. So 30s right now as the temperatures continuing to fall. We're at 33 in Provo, 37 in Ogden. It's just been kind of a gloomy, hazy day today with that inversion in place. We're going to get more of the same as we get into the day tomorrow. We've got temperatures up and down the state here into the 30s, already at 31 in Milford, 36 in Cedar City, freezing in Price, freezing in Hanksville, 26 degrees in Vernal. So don't forget the winter jacket for you. We've been dealing with dry conditions, a little bit cloudier skies further down towards the south. Meanwhile, we've got some snow showers here heading down into portions in and around, heading towards the Tennessee, South Carolina area, Carolinas, and then up through the Great Lakes. We're seeing some lake effect snow, upwards of 2 to 5 feet, by the way, has fallen in those areas, and they could see a few additional feet of snow here in the days ahead. Look at this. We've got quiet conditions all the way through the remainder of the week. Friday, we might be able to mix out a little bit of that inversion. Heading into the weekend, this model still shows that we miss out on that Sunday, Monday storm. Here's how close it is. Another 100 miles further down towards the south and west, and then we're back in business, Brian. So we've got to watch out for those changes here. It's about a 50% shot I'd give you right now that we'll see some snow. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it, and hopefully those models come into a better agreement. So we're in the 20s as we head into the overnight. We've got highs tomorrow into the 40s here, 50 degrees in Heber. St. George, you've got 60s each and every day here. How about that? That's nice. Some sunshine there as well. We've got the hazy sunshine here along the Wasatch Front in the days ahead. 20s for lows, 40s for highs. And then there's that potential weekend to early next week storm, Sunday to Monday. So the big story also, the inversion, the haze, but also the chilly temperatures.
Sure.
I mean, 40s and 20s.
Really hoping this comes to fruition so we
Me
can go
too.
hit the slopes with some good
That's
stuff
right.
on Monday
I'll
morning.
You can pick me up 8 a.m.
I'll pick you up.
7
If
a.m.
it's, but you got to make it more than 50% here. 50% is not going to cut it for
Hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll have a
Yeah.
better idea
Yeah.
here if this thing's actually going to slide down and give us a little bit of snow.
That's
Thank you,
right.
Sean.
Yeah.
Still ahead here on Arc Salt Lake, St. George beginning the Christmas season with a celebration for the city. We'll share what festive events you can take part in. Covering St. George tonight, celebrating the annual kickoff to Christmas this evening. Right now, the public is celebrating at historic Town Square.
Yeah, there's going to be live music, hot chocolate, and cookies. An ugly sweater contest, of course, and Santa and Mrs. Claus are expected to make an appearance. The St. George Carousel and Children's Museum are both open until 8 p.m. tonight.
Yeah, you got a few minutes. Happening tomorrow, Primary Children's Hospital beginning decorating day for this year's Festival of Trees. The holiday tradition will showcase more than 550 trees, 100 wreaths, nativities, gingerbread houses, and more, Sean.
That's a lot of trees. Well, attendees can also enjoy some sweet treats such as scones and 51 flavors of Festival of Trees fudge, all while taking in live music and dancing. All the proceeds go to Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital to help provide care to children in need. The festival opens Wednesday and runs through Saturday at the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy.
The Transportation Security Administration has released the best calendar ever. It's not the shirtless firefighters, it's the canine calendar, Sean.
Yeah, the calendar honors the TSA's more than 1,000 explosives detection dogs. Each year, the TSA welcomes roughly 300 new canine recruits to a 16-week training program at the agency's Canine Training Center in San Antonio, Texas. The 2025 TSA Canine Calendar highlights 13 dogs picked from more than 80 entries from TSA teams nationwide. If you like a copy, it's available for download on the TSA's website. How about that?
Downloadable calendar. You don't have to go like pick it up somewhere.
Right.
That's good. Okay, I see what they're doing. Where we are right now, we've been talking about how excited we are to ski, but you could probably get out and play a little golf with those conditions.
I'm waiting to get out there
Waiting
one
for the
last
invite,
time. One
okay,
last
when
time.
it's what, 45
golfing.
degrees out there, a little chill.
45 is not too bad. The sun's out.
When the ground's frozen, it's not that fun.
Still a bit hazy. Might lose a golf ball.
Yes, well, some of us know how to lose a golf ball. Me. Thanks for watching Arc Salt Lake here at 7 o'clock. Back at 9 o'clock also on 2 News at 10. Have a good evening.